Hey everybody, this is IndieGeek, and today I'm taking a look at Monochroma. This is a new game. It's coming out on the 28th on Steam for PC, Mac, and Linux. It will be $20, and it is from Nowhere Studios. As you can see, we kind of just jump right into the game here, right from the beginning. There isn't really kind of like an opening menu or anything. And I've played about an hour. I'm not like at least as far as I can tell, I'm not anywhere near finishing the game. But played enough to kind of get my impressions of the game. And there are things that I like and there are things that I don't like. And I'm going to definitely go over both as we move on here. But the overall feel of the game is it's kind of a physics-based kind of platformer. Kind of in the style of something like Limbo, I would say. And mostly from that I'm getting... kind of like the art direction is definitely reminiscent of Limbo, as well as kind of the whole theme of the game for the most part, and just the way it plays. Like, we can jump, and we can move boxes, and in a minute here we're actually going to be with our brother, who we will be picking up and putting down. And that's basically the game, as far as like the actions that we can take. And then all the puzzles are sort of built around those sort of aspects, and we will use combinations of those things in order to create the puzzles. So like here, we need to move that box so we can get up here. I'll need to move the box closer, but you can kind of start to see where this comes in. And then there's going to be lots of times when we will die unexpectedly from something. Again, very similar to the way that Limbo plays out, where we may not be ready. So there's kind of our title screen for the first time. We may not actually be like expecting something to happen, but it'll happen anyways, and then we'll die. And that, that gets... I mean, it's interesting sometimes, but that gets kind of frustrating, I guess, in the same way that you could say that Limbo got frustrating. I think from a gameplay perspective, the game is really good. I think there are other aspects where the game kind of fails on some levels. This, I think, is actually one of my least favorite aspects of the game. Not necessarily the fact that you have to carry the brother around, which makes you jump lower, as you can see, but like, you can't put the brother down anywhere where there isn't light. And that becomes really incredibly frustrating, mostly because I'm thinking of it from the perspective of, like, we're in all these situations where messing this up or messing something up is going to cause us to die. And my constant kind of overwhelming thought is that, other than from a purely game design decision, there's no reason that that kid needs to be in light. And that's... yeah, that killed me. That was an accident. I meant to jump to the rope there. I mean, I get that he's like a youngish kid and he's probably afraid of the dark or something, but like, the only real reason that we have to leave him in light is because that's kind of the game design decision there. There's no like actual reason for it. Like, it hasn't explained that he has some kind of disease or something where sunlight is like necessary. Not that that would make sense anyways, because I carry him around in the darkness. So the only reason it's really there is because of the kind of game design requiring it, and a lot of the puzzles are built around that reasoning. And that gets really frustrating, because there's so many puzzles that if I could set him like 2 centimeters away from the light, would just be instantly solved. And I get that that's like where the puzzles are coming from, but it feels like a really kind of not okay reason. Yeah, see, I was wondering if this was going to get fixed. This feels like a glitch to me, and I am playing on a version, obviously, that is out a few days before the actual release, but like, that jump is so inconsistent. And I've had times where I had to sit there for 5 minutes to make this jump work, and I hope I didn't cause this to happen again here. I may have. But like, for whatever reason, like, this jump has not been tested. So this is actually pretty indicative of like the experience I've had. And this isn't the only time. There are more than one jumps like this where you will run into issues getting to where you need to go. And now I feel like an idiot for jumping back down to show this off, because this is the experience I've had, like I said. So let me see. For whatever reason, there's like one spot where if you stand there and then jump up, you can like just make it. But oh my goodness, there we go. Okay, we made it. So this is what I'm talking about. This is one of those puzzles that is incredibly frustrating just because of the way it's laid out. So we have to get something down so that we can reach up with our brother. Right? And what that's going to cause us to do is have to roll this thing down. But if we just roll it down, it'll kill him. So what you actually have to do, and you have to figure this out, is you have to jump over to here so that you can pull down the shutter there to bring him up here. And that just seems like an unnecessary step, I guess, in my opinion. But I guess that's also just my personal opinion about the matter. You know, I played the demo a while ago, and the demo was like a year old when I played it. So I was hoping that maybe some of this would get a little more fleshed out and maybe be a little less kind of like required to deal with the whole light thing, because it felt like not the greatest way of doing a puzzle, but it's there. So I guess that is something just to keep in mind. Like, if this seems frustrating to you, this is like on an easy scale of how these puzzles work. Later on, there are going to be times where you have to move something out of the way like 5 or 6 times in a row because you weren't fast enough, and the kid doesn't like to not be in the light. So that really does become like an overwhelming kind of issue in my mind about the puzzle design. But again, my opinion, don't know how many people feel the same way, but that's what's going on there. As far as like the puzzles, I found them to be relatively easy. Most of the time, the only reason I won't be able to solve one is because I'm not like fast enough or something, and it'll require pretty precise timing. Other than that, I found the puzzles to be relatively easy all the way through so far of what I've played. I can't speak to the length of the game, like I said, because I haven't quite finished it, but I have played an hour, and I don't know. I mean, I use this as kind of a reference a lot. I don't know if I'll be finishing it. I guess that's what I'll say. But I think that pretty much covers the gameplay side of things. From a visual perspective, I think it looks really nice, other than a few kind of visual glitches I've found, and kind of like some weird animations. So like this like little hop is kind of weird. And things just don't always quite work out like you would think from the way they look. Sometimes like jumps don't work right, things like that. Just like you'd look at them and expect one thing and a different thing happens. So there is that, but other than that, I think from a visual perspective, it looks really nice, and you know what, like I said, it follows kind of the Limbo thing in kind of visuals and theme. From a sound perspective, there's not a lot. I know I've got it turned down quite a bit. Let me go maybe turn it up a little more and we'll see. I didn't notice it a whole lot when I was playing through. I know there's like the music thing, but I haven't heard a lot of music other than like the sounds you hear when you die. So I don't know what else is really there for music. Other than that, I mean, we can hear like the wind, a little bit of the rain, I guess. But yeah, for the most part, like sound isn't really used all that much, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't have to be used, but I guess I would like to have had a little more kind of sound design presence in my opinion. Alright. I also feel like sometimes the drop distances that are allowed feel a little arbitrary. Just because sometimes you can drop, like, I mean, you saw me drop onto that log. That was like a pretty long distance, and there's just like no reaction. But if maybe it had been just like a little bit higher distance that I fell from, my character would just be dead. So, I don't know. It seems a little arbitrary sometimes how the drop distance works, and I haven't really had a great time figuring out how that works. It feels like I'm just guessing for the most part. That being said, you know, I think overall the game is pretty good. I think the hard thing is it feels very, very similar to Limbo, and it's obviously a different game. I guess the question is if it lives up to kind of what it's going for. I think the thing you could fairly say is that Limbo was clearly an inspiration on the game. I think that's obvious to some degree. And you know, I feel like there's just like a couple issues with like controls sometimes, a couple issues like that kind of stuff, like that jump again. Like there's just weird jump sometimes. Things like that can really kind of cause the game to be a little less enjoyable, I guess we'll say. But you know, like I said, like from a visual standpoint, it's pretty good. From a puzzle standpoint, it's pretty good, although I would say it's a bit easy. I haven't really run into too much of an issue. Like, what are you going to do the first time on that? You're just going to push it and you're going to win. Like, that's it. There's no real consequences there. There is another one later where you have to pull it out into the rain, and if you don't, then you'll get set on fire. But we already saw that happen the first time, so I can't imagine that anyone's going to mess it up the second time, if that makes sense. So, like, you know, that's kind of what I'm talking about from like an easy standpoint. This is what I'm talking about. So, like, obviously you're going to pull this out and do that first. But I think that being said, I think this is probably a pretty good place to wrap it up. Like I said, I can't really speak to the length of the game, but yeah, I would expect a few hours probably in total. But you know, for that, I would check out some other reviewers, see what they say. Really, for anything I've said, check out other reviewers, see what they say about it. It's certainly not a bad game. I feel like it's just an okay game, especially when there are so many puzzle platformers out there. This one just feels kind of okay. It's kind of middling, I guess. But I think that is where we will leave this one off. So, as always, feel free to comment if you would like to. Subscribe to see more of my videos every single day, and if you liked my video on Monochroma, then please do consider clicking the like button. But with that, I will thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.